At first, you're all in, excited, curious, fully engaged. A new person, a new idea, a new opportunity. It feels real. You think, this is it. This is different. But then, something shifts. The excitement fades, the interest drops, and what once felt intense suddenly feels empty. And you don't always know why. If that's you, if you tend to lose interest faster than you gain it, you're not inconsistent, you're not the problem, and you're definitely not incapable of commitment. There's a deeper psychological pattern behind this, and today we're breaking down the psychology of people who lose interest quickly and what it actually reveals about how your mind works. Here's the part most people get wrong. Losing interest quickly isn't about being bored with everything. It's about what your brain is actually responding to. Because for you, interest isn't random. It's triggered. Number 1, you're driven by novelty, not repetition. Your brain lights up at the beginning. New conversations, new people, new possibilities. That early stage, it's full of uncertainty, discovery, and potential. And your brain loves that. Dopamine, the chemical linked to motivation and excitement, is highest when something is new and unpredictable. So when something starts, you feel it strongly. But as soon as it becomes familiar, predictable, stable, that dopamine drops, and with it, your interest. Number 2, you're attached to the idea, not always the reality. This is where things get deeper. When something is new, you don't just experience it, you imagine it. You see potential, possibilities, future versions of what it could become. And that vision, it's powerful, sometimes more powerful than reality itself. But as things unfold, reality replaces imagination. And if reality doesn't match the version in your head, your interest fades. Not because the thing itself is bad, but because it no longer feels the way it did in your mind. Number 3, you're highly stimulated by beginnings, but not by maintenance. Starting something? Easy. Continuing it? That's where things change. Because maintaining interest requires consistency, routine, repetition, patience. And for your brain, that feels slow, less exciting, less engaging. So you unconsciously move towards something new where that initial spark exists again. It's not that you can't stay, it's that your brain keeps pulling you toward the beginning. Here's something most people don't realize. This pattern isn't just about boredom. Number 4, it's about how you experience emotional engagement. When something first captures your attention, you feel it deeply. You invest energy, focus, emotion. But that level of intensity isn't sustainable long-term. So when it naturally decreases, it feels like something is missing. Like something changed, even when nothing actually did. And instead of recognizing it as a normal shift, your brain interprets it as, I've lost interest. Number 5, you struggle with emotional flatness after intensity. This is subtle, but important. You're used to feeling things strongly. So when things become calm, balanced, stable, it doesn't feel good. It feels empty. Not because something is wrong, but because it lacks the intensity you're used to. So you move away from it, searching for something that brings that feeling back. Number 6, you associate interest with excitement, not depth. Most people think interest should always feel engaging, stimulating, entertaining, exciting. But real connection, real growth, real value often feels quiet, slow, subtle, consistent. And if your brain is wired for intensity, that kind of experience can feel underwhelming. So you disconnect before depth has time to develop. Now let's go deeper, because for some people, this pattern has nothing to do with stimulation. Number 7, you might lose interest to avoid emotional risk. When something gets real, it also gets vulnerable. Expectations form, attachment builds, the possibility of disappointment appears, and your brain notices that. So instead of moving deeper, it pulls back, not consciously, but protectively, because losing interest feels easier than risking being hurt. This is why you might notice a pattern. You're fully engaged at the start, but the moment something becomes stable or serious, you detach. Not because you don't care, but because caring comes with risk. Here's the part most people need to hear. Losing interest quickly doesn't mean you're incapable of commitment. It means your brain is calibrated for intensity, novelty, and emotional safety. And none of that is inherently bad. In fact, it often means you're curious, perceptive, emotionally responsive. But without awareness, it keeps you stuck in cycles. Start, feel, fade, repeat. So what changes everything? Understanding the difference between interest and stimulation. Because something doesn't have to feel intense to be meaningful, and something doesn't have to feel exciting to be valuable. So the next time you feel your interest fading, pause. Not to force yourself to stay, but to question the pattern. Ask yourself, did I lose interest or did the intensity just fade? Am I bored or am I just not stimulated the same way anymore? Because those are not the same thing. You don't need to chase constant excitement. You need to learn how to recognize depth even when it's quiet. You're not inconsistent, you're just wired for beginnings. But when you learn to stay past the beginning, that's where everything changes. So tell me, do you lose interest quickly, or do you stay once something becomes real? Drop it in the comments. And if this felt a little too accurate, the next video is going to break down another behavior you thought was just part of your personality, but actually reveals something much deeper about how your mind works. Click it.